Good afternoon. I'm Tamara Koshecki. I am the facilitator of discretionary funding here for the Jewish Community Council of Greater Coney Island nonprofit help desk. Today's webinar is going to be New York City discretionary funding. Should you apply? And if so, how? And we're going to kick it off right away by moving straight to some of our fantastic co-hosts. So first, we're going to be happy to have Council Member Tiffany Caban to go ahead and say a couple of welcoming words for us. Good afternoon, Council Member. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the help desk team. We really appreciate it. So I'll be super quick. My name is Councilmember Tiffany Kavan. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the council member in District 22, and I'm just super thrilled to be co-sponsoring this workshop. I know the discretionary application budget can be super overwhelming, so we're excited to help demystify it for Queens-based organizations today, and just want to say thank you to all the organizations for the work that they're doing. So thanks.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for partnering with us. Happy now to have, I believe, Council Member Julie Wan or someone from her office is here to speak.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. We're so grateful for the nonprofit help desk for providing this really necessary information for all the nonprofits who are looking to apply for discretionary funding. As a reminder, for our office, you can find all the information on our office's process for, the supplemental form, applying for budget. Everything is on our website. It's council.gov.nyc. /Julie1, and then there's a budget link there. We are definitely excited to have everyone here learn more about the process to apply for funding, because we know that it can be so confusing. And so again, thank you to Nonprofit Help Desk for putting this together.
Thanks, Farah. Appreciate you and appreciate Councilmember Wong's support. And finally, also co-hosted today by Councilmember Krishnan. So I think, Greg, I think you are up.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Tamara. And thank you to everyone for joining this presentation. My name is Greg. I'm the Legislative and Budget Director for Councilmember Krishnan's office. So thank you all for joining. We hope this webinar will be insightful for you all as you are wrapping up your discretionary applications. I know the deadline is looming, but we are eager to support you all. This is the way we can support the wonderful work that you're doing across our districts and across the city. And so we are always happy to have these educational webinars so you all can navigate the process that I know can be opaque and a bit of a black box, but we want to make it as transparent as possible and answer any questions that you all may have. So thank you to the Nonprofit Help Desk for helping putting this on, and thank you to the other co-sponsors for joining our office and having this effort for you all.
Thank you so much. So once again, really appreciative to Council Members Caban, Wan, and Krishnan for being here as a partner today. Just a little bit about the help desk. We really are a help desk. We are here to help you. We have free live workshops. All of our workshops, including today, will be archived on our website at nphd.org. So you'll be able to find today's slide deck as well as the recording of today's workshop there. We have a really robust LinkedIn community, so come find us there and join us. And we offer free expert support. So not just discretionary funding, but a range of other topics ranging from fundraising, promotion, legal, IT, and leadership. So if you need help for something for your small or medium-sized organization, or you just need some guidance and some feedback, you can reach out to us on nphd.org and you can request help from an expert, and we can hook you up with someone that can probably help you out. So we really appreciate if you look us up there. We are also supported by City Council. So just wanted to give a shout out to our supporters. So we're funded through Speaker Adrian Adams, as well as council members Brannon, Hudson, Lewis, Ari Kagan, Vernikov, Rita Joseph, and Susan Zhang. So thank you to everyone who supported the help desk from City Council. So digging in today on discretionary funding and figuring out, hey, what is this discretionary funding stuff? The Speaker's office, along with City Council, puts out something called Discretionary Funding Policies and Procedure Manual. There is a link to it in our chat. And basically what discretionary funding is this set amount of money that is appropriated in the city's expense budget every year. It is then allocated to eligible not-for-profit organizations, and it's used to help meet local needs. So fill the gaps maybe that are missing in some of the services provided by city agencies, and City Council considers discretionary spending to be a critical tool in meeting the needs of their local communities. Remember that discretionary funding is not quite like competitively awarded agency contracts. So discretionary funding are awarded for a single fiscal year only. There is no multi-year funding for discretionary funding. And I know it gets a little confusing for those of you, especially who might have received discretionary funding in the past, because you may have a multi-year contract, but you do not have multi-year funding. So every year you have to apply for discretionary funding. It's 1 year only. So there are different, what I say, call them pots of money, different pots of money. So that your discretionary funding could come from, depending upon what kind of programs that you offer and present. So the first kind is just called local initiatives. There are 51 council members in 5 boroughs. So each council member's boroughs, as well as each borough delegation, receives and then therefore allocates out a set amount of money each year. And that's called local initiatives. And it can be for any kind of need that they think needs to be met. It's not programmatically tied to anything. So then there's also city local council initiatives, and that may be, let's say there's a bigger need. It might exceed the scope of any one council member, or the organization might need a bigger allocation for some reason, and then they may get referred to what's called the speakers list. But then there's things that are tied to programmatic initiatives. So there's aging discretionary funds. Each member receives a certain amount of money just to fund senior services in their district through the Department of Aging. Youth discretionary funds, they get an annual amount every year just to fund youth or community development, and that is administered through the Department of Youth and Community Development, which is also called DYCB. Those programs must take place outside of school hours. There's community safety and victim services initiatives. This could be anti-violence, anti-gun, community fellowship, law enforcement, promoting relations, better relations between law enforcement and the neighborhood, and other types of public safety and awareness. And then last, there's a very, very, very long list of citywide initiatives. And we'll go over that a little bit later in this webinar. And those are targeted, right? They could be food pantries, they could be the Cultural Immigrant Initiative. There's many of them. And they're usually for a little bit larger organizations. Oftentimes those organizations have received discretionary funds in the past. They've shown that they can handle large contracts, maybe $20,000, $50,000 or more. And oftentimes those initiatives are citywide in scope. So just a few examples of what discretionary funding programs could be. Could be a food pantry, food distribution, hot meals program. Could be recreational and cultural activities, youth programming, educational classes, sports activities, community legal assistance, services to seniors, health promotion events. So before I go any further, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat to the whole group or just to myself directly, or to raise your hands. I'm just going to take a little bit of a pause and see if anybody has any questions. Okay, we'll keep going. So in order to be able to apply, first your organization has to be deemed eligible to apply. So discretionary funding is allocated only to not-for-profit, community-based social service providers or arts and cultural organizations. That's really important. You must be a nonprofit organization. And the eligibility criteria is not-for-profit organization. You must have a current registration with the New York State Attorney General's Charities Bureau, unless you're considered exempt, and that's a very specific reason why you would be considered exempt. And you must have a valid, what's called Federal Employer Identification Number, or EIN number. If you are selected and in this process, you will be vetted by various city agencies or Office of Management and Budget. And so they're going to look through various not-for-profit business record searches. They may search the news for you. They're going to see if you have any conflict of interests. They may search the tax warrant database. They're going to want to make sure that all of your registrations are current, your not-for-profit status entity, that your registration with the IRS is current, that your registration with New York State Charities Bureau is current, that your EIN number is active and current. Those are really important. If for some reason that you've had past evaluations of contracts, they're going to look at those and see what your performance reviews say. And they're also going to look at how you use your money and making sure that it's for a public purpose of funds. So in order to apply, there's going to be several steps, and it's kind of broken up into 3 sections. So there's the steps that you're going to take on what's called Passport, which is a New York City portal. And within that Passport, you're going to make sure that your organization or someone from your organization is registered for an NYC ID that's tied to your organization. You're going to make sure that you've registered on Passport. And then within Passport, you're going to apply for HHS pre-qualification. Okay, so there's 3 steps within Passport. Simultaneously, you can also register for an account on the New York City Council's discretionary portal and work on your application. And so we'll go through those things. And then also simultaneously, and hopefully you've been doing this in the past, and if you haven't, now is as good a time as any to start. You're going to request a meeting with your council members or any council member to which your organization is going to apply. Make sure that you're contacting them and asking, do you have any supplemental forms that need to be completed? It could be on their website, so you can check that. And if it's not, reach out to them because they would be the only ones who have that. And then in general, it's a really good idea, whether it's the council members that you're applying to or just the council districts that you work in general, invite them to your site, invite them to your events, invite them to see the good work that you do and how you're serving their constituents. Invite them to participate. If you're arts and cultural organization, come to our concert. If you're a food pantry, hey, come help hand out food with us. They really love to participate, not just be asked for money. And then they see what you're doing all year long. Really important. So before we kind of dig into the actual application, which is due on Wednesday, February 19th, a week from today, there's a few questions in the chat, so I'm happy to answer those. And then we can kind of keep on going. What's the contact info for District 26? I believe it's already in the chat. So if you can check that out, it should be there, or we'll try to get that link put in the chat for you. Someone asked if your organization serves constituents nationally, but is located in New York City and serves NYC residents as well, can you apply? Yes. If the person who asked that question would like to unmute, I'm happy to dig into it a little bit.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right.
Awesome. So do you have a New York City location?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, Lower East Side.
And are you registered? Do you have a New York City Charities Bureau registration? New York
Yes.
State, rather, Charities Bureau?
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't see why you couldn't apply. You would want to tailor, I think, your application to show what you're doing specifically within New York City or within a part of New York City. And make sure that you're showing, well, this money is going to stay within the 5 boroughs.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Someone else asked, I'm not sure where my organization fits. We have 2 types of programs, an after-school teen writing program. And how should I speak out? I can't see the screenshot that was included in that, but the person who asked that question, you're welcome to unmute if you'd like to ask the question.
Hi, yeah, so thank you. I was wondering because we have 2 types of programs, an after-school teen writing program where they work with an editor and it's very clear how to pitch that. But then we also have a different type of program where we use the stories that the teens write into curricula for 6th through 12th grade and provide professional development trainings on the curricula to educators and other youth serving adults. And the teen writing program is completely free for the teens. And then the professional development is like greatly subsidized, but there is a slight cost. Sometimes it's free, but
Mhm.
sometimes there's a small cost. And I was wondering what we should pick out of the speaker's citywide initiatives, because there's just so many options. Like, should we just pick ones that sound like they fit for us, or?
Yeah, so we can dig into that as we go through the initiatives. You also don't have to pick an initiative, right? So you can leave that blank and just leave it up to the council member to be it that would come out of their local funds as well. So it doesn't have to tie to an initiative either.
And one other question I had was, there's so many, I read or heard from someone that you shouldn't apply to multiple times to like each different one, right? It should be just like one application for all the different city council members. Is that correct?
So we'll dig into that a little bit more and circle back. But
Sorry.
let's say no, that's fine. So we're gonna jump ahead here just a drop so I make sure I answer your question. Let's say you're writing the application for your teen school writing program. Just right, that's one application. You can send that application to as many council members as you would like. Obviously, I would recommend that you send it to the ones in whose districts that you serve. Um, if you wanted to write a second application for the professional development for teachers, I would make that a second application. And again, you can send that to as many council members as you like, again, suggesting you only send it to the ones whose districts that you can show that you serve. But I would make them two separate applications. I would not necessarily tie them together.
Okay, and does it help to like list the exact number of people in each district we serve, or can we just list the names of the schools we partner with, or the numbers writers there?
So that's sort of like a grant writing strategy question. And so you can take the free advice for what it's worth, but the stronger your case making, the stronger your application. The more tangibles that you can show them, the better your case making. So if you can say we served these schools and give them all the names, and we served this many kids and this many teachers, and they're from these districts, right? You're just giving them more and more data to show why the work that you're doing, one, has reach, and two, serves their constituents. So I would include as much information as you have.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I'll definitely do 2 applications, one for the writing program, one for the professional development, and make the case with those examples.
Yeah, and request a meeting with the council members that you would like to request funding from, as soon as you can. It's getting a little bit tight because it's due in a week, but they might have suggestions for you on how they would like to receive it as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so kind of going back to the PowerPoint now. Again, the application's due on February 19th, which is a week from today. And so if you click on apply for discretionary funding, which is that first blue box there that we see, we're going to see, you're going to see this. This is the website. We'll drop that link for you in the chat. And it's probably already in the chat already, but just in case. And then if you already have applied in the past, you should have an account and a login. If you have not applied, you would click new applicant, and you would just need to give your email and confirm a password, and then you would be able to log in. And it's going to bring you to this. So once you get to here, you can see there are 6 tabs within this portal. There's instructions, organization and contact info, request details, participation, acknowledgements and attachments, and then just a review page. So going through the instructions page, the first thing they're going to do is go over this application checklist, which of course we already talked about a little bit, right? You have to have an EIN number. You have to have your New York State Charities Bureau number. That's a 6-digit number. Additionally, you're going to have ready your organization's operating budget, so your annual operating budget. Have any information or documentation about inquiries, corrective action plans, which are also known as CAPs, any kind of audits that maybe an agency conducted on you, a monitorship, etc. They will ask these questions in the application. You need to have your organization's staffing information as well as the program's staffing information. Depending upon the size of your organization, those things may or may not be the same thing. So make sure you have both ready to go. If you are a new organization or a relatively new organization and you have incorporated On or after July 1st, 2023, be prepared to upload that certificate of incorporation. Have your list of board members and employees ready to go, and make sure that you have applied for your pre-qualification and passport. So those are the application checklists. You just kind of want to have all that information set and ready to go. As you come into here, you'll see in the organization and contact info, they're going to start asking you questions about those things. Is your FEIN currently being used or shared by another organization? Which is your EIN number? You know, have you ever used a different EIN number? You know, is it, you know, are you tax exempt according to the IRS? Is that tax exempt current? And it's going to ask over here, and it's kind of a little bit hidden on this PowerPoint. I apologize. What is the date of incorporation? So again, if it's past that July 1st, 2023 date, you're going to have to upload your incorporation. And then they're going to start asking compliance questions. Within the past 5 years, has the organization been subject to all those things we just talked about? An independent inquiry, a monitorship, a government, you know, investigation or audit? It's going to be a yes or no, and you know, you're going to have to give some details if it's a yes. Doesn't count you out, you're just going to have to give details. Are you operating under a CAF, corrective action plan? Have you been required to comply with a CAF, etc.? So you want to have that information ready to go. The good thing about this application is you can start it and come back to it later, so that's not a problem. When you get to the third tab, this is the actual request details, and I think this is going to speak to a little bit what we were talking about before. So the first thing is they're going to ask here is the amount requested. I'm trying to get my, there we go, my pointer over there. So amount requested. The minimum amount that you can request is $5,000. If you have not received discretionary funding in the past, or you have not received it within the past 3 years, the maximum amount that you can receive is $20,000, and the most you can receive from any one council member is $10,000. So I'll say that one more time because everybody gets, it's a little tricky. If you've never received discretionary funding before, or you haven't received it in the past 3 years, the most you can receive is $20,000, and you can't get more than $10,000 from any one council member. So that means you could get 2 $10,000 grants from 2 council members, or 4 $5,000 grants from 4 council members. And it can be on one application on one program, or you could spread it out if you wanted to try to put in more than one application. So that's really important to keep in mind. If you haven't received money, say last year, you don't have a maximum. There's no cap on what you can request. There'll be a drop down for the contracting agency. You don't have to select one if you don't want to. We'll go over what those agency possibilities are. It will say the drop down over here. Are you seeking funding related to speaker initiatives or citywide initiatives? If you say yes, you will have the next set of drop downs, and we'll go over that. If you say no, then basically you're saying we're applying to the council members' local initiative money. So you do not have to select a speaker initiative or a citywide initiative. It can just be their local money, which is fine. So for contracting agency, there are a lot of choices. If you are familiar with this process, or you've done it once or twice, or you're already working with a city agency that you contract with, you may want to continue contracting with them. Some of the popular ones that we see a lot are DYCD, the Department of Youth and Community Development. If you're an arts and culture organization, you may already be working with the DCLA, Department of Cultural Affairs. There's many others. You don't have to memorize them all. They are in here. We gave you all the acronyms. You would be able to look up this slide deck on our website, so you can look it up, and it's there. It'll be there for you. These are all the speaker initiatives and or citywide initiatives list. I'm not going to go over each one. But again, it'll be in the slide deck if you want to preview it before you have a login. And then you would be able to go through all of these. Some of them are specific, and they're only administered by certain agencies. For example, here, the Cultural Immigrant Initiative on this page, you can only receive if you're working with the Department of Cultural Affairs. And there's a bunch that are like that. So these are all the different initiatives. And then for the application, you can select as few as one council member to send this to, or all of them if you so choose. Selecting all of them is probably not a great choice. You should only select to send it to the council member or council members in whose districts and constituents that you serve, but you can also pick delegations or caucuses. So I'm going to take a little bit of a pause there to answer questions. I have one question in the chat. Do council members talk to each other? What if 3 council members want to give 10,000? Are they notified? Yeah, that'll come out in the wash. They'll figure that out. Because OMB will figure it out somewhere. Don't worry about that. Any questions? If anybody would like to raise their hand, you'll be welcome to unmute, or if you'd like to put anything in the chat.
I have a question. What if the organization is a 501c, but they don't have the bureau registration?
The Charities Bureau registration?
Yeah, is it too late to register or?
You are required to register with the New York State Charities Bureau if you are a 501c3, so you should probably get on that anyway. And I'm not sure how quickly between now and February 19th you'd be able to turn it around. But if
Okay.
you don't have it, you can apply here.
Okay, yeah, okay, another question, maybe they have it, so I'm volunteering for an organization that has never done any of this, discretionary award. So, and,
Mhm.
it's a religious, organization, 501c, but, maybe they have the number, but they just don't know, then how would they, figure out, like, who should they contact if they want to figure out the number?
So New York State Charities Bureau has a website and you can do a nonprofit lookup there
Okay, okay,
and see
all
if
right,
their registration is current. Sure,
okay, thank you so much. Mhm.
of course. Any other questions or should we continue on? Okay. So going into a little bit more of the types of questions that you'll be asked about your actual program. So you're going to want to talk about the mission statement of your organization. What is the program that you're requesting funds for? Describe the program, be compelling, really talk about that program and why it's important to New York City, why it's important to the constituency that you serve. Say when it's going to operate, where it takes place, right? Who are you serving? Is it youth? Is it seniors? Is it artists, etc. Describe the kind of staffing that you have. Volunteers, not volunteers, how many people, as much detail as you can give. The more detail you can give, the more concrete the program is. The more clear that people reading this, the staff reading this, are going to understand what you're doing and what the work is. In general, discretionary funding programs should be free and open to members of the community without cost. So if you do charge, if you have to charge for some reason, they would like to know whether or not you have a hardship exemption for it to be free to people who can't afford it. Next type is questions they call participation. So they're asking, describe what the organization does to inform the community of programs and services. This is all marketing and outreach. So how are you reaching people to let them know that this is taking place so that they can participate? And marketing and outreach is really important. So make sure you outline clearly all the ways that you reach the people that you serve and that you invite them in to be part of the program. If this takes place in a religious institution or school of some sort, you're going to have to be really clear that all are welcome and that it is a non-secular program. This section talks about, have you done these kinds of programs in the past? If you have, tell them, you know, what you've done, who you served, how many you've served, where they've taken place. Be really clear. Don't be afraid to be expressive. And then again, what do you do to inform the community? I think that's a double slide. I apologize for that. And one little thing here. So it says, to the best of your knowledge, has the organization been registered into a multi-year contract by a contracting agency? If you have never applied before, the answer is no. That's easy. If you have received discretionary funding in the past, there's a good chance that the answer to that question is yes, but you need to go into your passport and look. Because there was a change in the law that allows agencies to put you in a multi-year contract, which does not guarantee you multi-year funding, but it means you don't have to go through the contracting process every year. So it was trying to find a way to like make the contracting process easier. But that would be clear in your passport. You'd be able to see that. And then the last thing is they really want to see that you're doing the work, that you're not subcontracting it out to another organization or another group of people. So here you want to see, are you doing this yourself? Two documents in the 5th tab for acknowledgements and attachments. This is the conflict of interest disclosure form. You have to disclose any potential conflict of interest that you have with city government and city elected officials. You will need to download this, fill it out completely, sign it, and upload it. You will also need to download the certificate of authorization to submit. This not only needs to be signed, it needs to be notarized. So I would suggest, getting that done as soon as possible so that you have it and it's ready to go, but really important that it is notarized. There's also additional places on that section, in this section, to upload other documents. You can upload pictures, you can upload brochures, you can upload information about your program in that section, marketing materials, etc. And so the last section that I like to talk about here is making sure, we talked about this a little bit, making sure that you're engaging city council members. Contact the offices, make sure you're requesting if they have any additional supplemental forms that you need to fill out. That's super, super important. They want to see your organization as an internal capacity. So keep that program service delivery subcontracting to a minimum. And then once again, invite them to your site. Share the good work that you're doing with them. Mail them your brochures. They like to hear the good news a lot more often than just being asked for money. So make sure you're, engaging them in the work that you do in a consistent and ongoing manner. So the last section of the webinar is talking about your organizational capacity as well as the funding timeline. So we know that applications are due on February 19th, which is a week from today. The city's fiscal year begins on July 1st, 2025. It continues through June 30th of 2026. Your organization, if it's selected to receive funding, will find out maybe somewhere in July or August. And then there's going to be this process that takes place of getting all your materials put together to actually build a contract. There's going to be a lot of uploads that you're going to have to do, a lot of putting your insurance documents together. That's going to happen in Passport and in partnership with the city agency that you're working with. It takes a lot of time. You're going to have to attend what's called a MOX training, which is the Mayor's Office of Contract Services. Eventually that contract will get registered. It can take, when I say a long time, I'm talking like 6, 9, 12 months to register a contract. While this is all happening, you have already, in theory, hopefully started in doing your work, because your work needs to take place during the city's fiscal year between July 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2026. So hopefully you're doing the work, and while you're doing the work, you're paying your staff, you're paying your people. So that's money that's going out before it's coming back in. Eventually, you're going to be able to complete your expenditure forms and get paid. But keep in mind, unless you were an arts and culture organization contracting with New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, this is a reimbursement grant. Okay, so for everybody except arts and culture, this is a reimbursement grant, and you need to really think about, does your organization have both the staffing as well as the financial resources to manage a reimbursement grant? So that's the webinar for today. Again, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have about this process or discretionary funding in general. You're welcome to put them in the chat, and you're welcome to raise your hand as well. I hope this has been helpful and useful.
No questions, thank you.